You think you're gonna die in this house?
Hey everyone, happy Friday. So there's no script today. We're just gonna go off the cuff. So bear with me, get it? Bear with me, the bear. Sorry. Anyways, so I want to talk about Langdon because he's slowly becoming one of my favorite characters in this show. I think naturally last season my favorite character was Robby, but I don't even really think that was because of his personality. I think that was just because I so deeply related to sort of the emotions that he was displaying throughout the whole season. I think that's what drew a lot of people to his character. Now that he's at a more stable place, he's obviously, Noah Wiley's great, but he's not necessarily like my favorite anymore. I'm rewatching a little bit of the episode, just scrolling to every interaction Langdon has with anyone or anytime he's on the screen. And something that's really pissing me off is that, first of all, Robby was really dismissive because it's like, so about 30 minutes into the episode, Langdon walks up to Robby. He's like, yo, Rob, like, can we talk for a second? And then Robby's like, he's like, do you have a minute? And then Robby's like, no, I don't. It's like, buddy, like, you are still the chief attending for this day. Like, you can't be, I'm not saying that he needed to talk to him. I'm just saying you could have been like, yeah, let's talk later. He clearly doesn't want to talk to him at all. Okay, I remembered again. I'm so sorry. Basically, up until like a little bit, I think last episode, Langdon was stuck in triage. Now, I don't really understand exactly what triage is. I guess I could look it up, but who has time for that? The point is, it doesn't matter what triage is. The point is that being in triage is below Langdon's pay grade, okay? He is a senior resident still, right? I think that's what he is. And first of all, he's not treating himself, the self-esteem is down, okay? We're a little down in the dumps, but it is first day back, and everyone's being a little weird. Now, to be fair, everyone's kind of trying to act normal. A lot of our favorite characters, like Mel, Santos, and Whitaker, they all only knew Langdon for one day. Obviously, they remember him. Obviously, they've been hearing all of this gossip about him for 7 months, right? It's just kind of like, there's this awkwardness still. And Robby being like, oh, I don't want to, no, I actually don't have time to talk to you. It's like, okay, well, could you at least maybe, it's not even about their relationship anymore. It's more about, like, let's just be, like, a decent human being, okay? If he doesn't want to have some big conversation with Langdon after the shift or whatever, that's fine. You're going to be gone for 3 months. You're telling me you're not going to talk to anyone for 3 months? Just tell him, like, why don't we talk on the phone, like, later in a week or something, right? He's going to be on the road by himself. What do you think he's going to do all day? Okay, he's going to get, right? He has 3 months of free time. It's just about being a decent person. Like, you can't be so dismissive of people, and you can't say that, you're so great at your job, and then Robby he's great at what he does, but he's not always the most, like, considerate and professional when issues arise, like personal issues, and he's always like, he's the first one to show that he has an attitude. Does that make sense? He's the first one to start, like, snapping at people and, like, getting crabby, and it's like, let's have some decorum. You feel me? And another thing that was really crazy is that Whitaker has been treating Louis, who's like a recurring patient now because he was in the last season, and Louis needs to be prescribed Librium, which someone said that he was prescribed benzos. Now, benzos is just like an overall term for a lot of different drugs. Like, so I think I'm sorry, I have to do my research. I'm here for the TV. I'm not really here for the medical stuff. So Librium is a benzodiazepine, right? So we know this, right? We all remember, put our thinking caps on. Langdon was addicted to benzos, which, it happens to the best of us, right? I'll talk about my opinions on that in a second after I get over this whole Whitaker thing. So Whitaker comes in the room, right? He's just doing the rounds, checking on his patients. He kind of just comes in right as they are like, okay, like, we're going to give you some benzos. And then Whitaker's like, I'll put in the order with his finger stick. Like, not literally like that, but that's what it was giving. Okay, it was giving, like, right? That's what it was giving. And it's like, okay, buddy, like, read the room. So, like, personally, I don't think that Whitaker is really in the wrong for this. He genuinely was not thinking of it like that. Like, Whitaker is just such an unbiased person, and we know this because he was homeless. Also, another thing that I never talked about, in the last episode, I think it was the previous episode 4, last week we learned that Whitaker was not abused by his farm family. So when the first season came out, for context, we don't really have that much background on all of these characters' family situations. We're slowly learning about them. It's like lore drop randomly, right? So last season, Whitaker was talking to, I think, some male patient, and he was like, oh, like, you know, your parents must be so proud that you're a doctor. And he was like, oh yeah, like, they gave up a lot for me. It wasn't easy. And the way, the cadence of his voice when he said that to the patient made the fandom and viewers assume that he has some type of strained relationship with his family back home in Nebraska. And, you know, obviously people in the fanfics have given him lore. I feel like the sort of canon, not canon, but the fanon, which is like canon plus fan, right? The fanon lore in fanfiction for Whitaker is that, like, his parents were homophobic and that he's gay and that, like, he was, like, not I feel like people don't really go with the abuse thing, but just that, like, it was really difficult for him and he always felt different and, like, it was hard with all of his brothers and, like, masculinity, all this yabba yabba gabagool, right? But anyways, aside from that, right, now we have it confirmed since the previous episode that he does have a good, or at least a semi-good relationship with his family, because he said to someone, oh yeah, I really miss, you know, Broken Bow. He didn't say that. That's not a direct quote from him, but he was like, oh, I really miss home. You know, I wish I could go back there for, you know, a week or whatever the hell he was saying, right? What I'm trying to say, like, you're like, where am I going with this? I'm trying to say that because we now have it confirmed that he has a good relationship with his family, he is not a person who is, you know, prejudiced or who, you know, takes to gossip and such. Like, he, you know, he's a good person, okay? And because he was homeless and probably a ton of other crap happened to him, because I can't imagine, I mean, just being homeless, right, that's one factor of your life, but then all of this other crap happens because you're homeless. So, like, I'm sure he's dealt with a lot of crap, right? And so he's clearly, I'm just trying to say, he's not the type of person that would be judging Langdon or that would ever be thinking in that way. So I'm just saying that when Whitaker says this line, like, oh, I'll put in the script or whatever, I'll write the script, whatever it is, you know, it's not even clocking to him that that's like a crazy thing to say in front of Langdon or to Langdon. So, you know, then Langdon, of course, instant death, you know, double homicide. He gets put in a bad mood and back into his funk because he's like, God damn, you know what I mean? Another random thing that has nothing to do with Langdon. So Santos gets interrupted about 444 times. So basically Santos keeps getting interrupted while she's trying to do her charting. Now, I would assume if you're in a different specialty that's not the emergency department that you would have time to chart, or you would, like, be able to do it while you're treating patients. At least that's what I've seen in family medicine. They do a lot of their charting just while they're talking to you, right? But it's like, dude, like, I'm glad they're showing, you know, what goes on, because how is Santos supposed to do anything? Like, the fact that she usually has to stay a couple hours afterward to finish the charting is crazy to me. But it's like, oh my goodness. Okay, on another topic, Santos Ogilvy, I love this pairing. Now, this was really smart on their part, because, like, Santos really balances out Ogilvy, because Santos is sort of sometimes comic relief and she's just naturally very funny. She deadpans all of these things. So when you pair her with Ogilvy, it lightens up the tone of Ogilvy's character. Now, obviously, the purpose of his character initially, I don't know what he's going to transform into throughout this day or this season, but the point of his character is that he's the gunner, which we just learned about. I mean, I didn't know what the term meant, obviously. But, you know, he's just the overly eager med student incel vibes, whatever the hell he's got going on, right? You know, you can tell he's never had a girlfriend, stuff like that, right? And, you know, right, Ogilvy, it just makes for just every scene between him and Santos. It has totally, like, elevated his character to new heights. Like, I no longer find him annoying. He's just like funny to me now.
He also got shit on, which was like actually so disgusting. Like, I had to like turn my face away. I was like, okay, this is way too much for me. Like, I think it was the last episode with the old man who was hitting on McKay, and we saw his ass. You know, I really didn't consent to see everyone's ass like this. You know, like when I see it in Heated Rivalry, I'm like, it's okay. Like, I signed up for this. But when I see it in this show, you know, and it's not looking too pretty, I'm like, okay, so I actually didn't sign up for that. But, you know, whatever. It's you know, they're showing everything, you know, the way it is, all natural. That's okay, whatever. But, yeah. So Ogilvy did get shit on, which was really funny. It was disgusting, but it did make me laugh. And I don't think, you don't really laugh that much watching this show, so that was kind of a nice touch. But also, I don't want to see anything else like that ever again in my entire life. Yeah, so I will come back. Okay.
We're going to segue back to Langdon, Mr. Langy. Never gonna call him that again. Anyways, so there's a scene about 40 minutes in where Langdon is talking to my girl Al, right? And he is like, you know, I don't think Rob is too happy I'm back. And she's like, well, I am. Okay, you're a great doctor, etc., right? Or whatever the hell she says. And this is just really, it's so perfect because it's like, you know, no one, I don't want to say no one's in Langdon's corner, but it's like people are either sort of tiptoeing around him and, you know, just kind of being like, oh, Langdon's back, you know, ooh, right?
Or he's just being totally destroyed by Robby. Okay, not in that way, but you know what I mean. Well, maybe in that, okay, let me just stop talking. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that, you know, it's pretty just weird vibes all around. Actually, that's a lie, because obviously, what is her name? Mel King, the queen, our king, Mel. She's obviously Langdon's probably the only person who's really there for him. But they haven't really had that many interactions in a few episodes. So hopefully we get more scenes with them.
But anyways, so what I appreciate about this is that Al is like reassuring Langdon, which is great. Basically, here's the best way to explain it. So if you're chief resident, you're kind of playing the role of the parent of the entire emergency department. Like, you have to be everyone's dad and just like be there for them in two ways. First of all, you have to reassure them, make them feel safe, secure, capable, so that they can do their jobs. You have to give them confidence, but at the same time you might have to reprimand them, etc., right? You might have to put your fist down. So to quickly talk about Al, it's gonna be really disappointing in the next episode when, okay, this is not a spoiler because every week they release like a little sneak peek of the next episode, I guess, to like keep us watching or whatever. So in episode 6 next Thursday, Al's gonna get in trouble with someone from surgery or another department of the hospital. Something went wrong with Al's AI thing, and the AI obviously messed up because AI is always messing up shit, okay? And they get really mad. And Robby kind of is going to get like a I told you so moment with Al. Now, how the repercussions of this AI mishap, I don't know how big it is. From what I've seen, I don't think it's going to kill anyone. But it's going to put, it doesn't even matter, you know, the actual situation. The point is that this AI mishap is going to put a huge, it's just going to break Al and Robby's relationship. It's going to break Abby.
Sepsis, stable for the moment. How about you?
Perfect vitals, EFAS negative off to CT.
Good. Keep me posted.
Ditto.
So at the very end, obviously, if you've seen it, well, I'd hope you watched it before you watch this video. What am I doing? Anyways, so basically, Langdon he goes to check in on Louis, and then he sees that like Louis is basically like he's like you can't see me right now, but like, you know, sticking out his tongue type thing, right? Like, bro's dying. Now, okay, wait, let me pause and go back so I can get the details right. Okay, so Langdon says to Robby like Louis kept pulling off his pulse ox, which I think is the thing they put on your finger to do your heartbeat. What the hell? Have I even been watching this show? I can't get any of the medical stuff right. Anyways, I don't know what that means. I don't know if that just means like he was fiddling with it, or if that means like he wanted to die. I don't really understand the implications of that or the motivations behind it. But if he did want to die, you know, I don't blame him. No, I'm sorry. That's not funny. I'm sorry. Anyways. Basically at the end, okay, count the amount of times I say basically. So essentially, we'll change the word up. Robby and Langdon, now they're on the same case together. They were already on another case, I think, earlier in the episode, but like now it's just the two of them. Obviously, other people are all gonna swoop in to save Louis's life. Hopefully he doesn't die, right? Everyone would hate that. I just think that this is good though, because I think it's good that Langdon and Robby are now sort of forced to come together, and even though that, it's not like they're gonna fix their relationship just trying to save Louis's life, but I think hopefully this will remind Robby in real time that Langdon is the same man that he was good friends with, the same man that he, cared for and respected and all of these things. Like, hopefully that is what comes out of Louis almost dying. That's what I'm hoping for. So for the last thing, big talk of this video, I just wanted to talk about like Langdon's whole situation in relation to Robby, because I think that that's really the most like relevant relationship that he has. I mean, I know a lot of people love Mel and Langdon, and I love them too, but we don't have a lot to go off of right now. But it's getting to the point, and I talk about this later in the voice note, but it's getting to the point where it's like, okay, Robby, like, why are you taking this so personally? Like, what did his addiction have to do with you? He is seriously acting like Langdon did this to slight him, or like a lot of people were speculating that like Robby feels like he failed Langdon, and it's not as much like he's mad at Langdon as it is that he's just mad at himself because he was supposed to be his mentor, his teacher, yada yada. He was supposed to like be setting a good example for, but it's like, once again, that's still taking it way too personally. It's like, okay, let's say this is kind of a bad analogy because Robby's really not the most healthy person or the best teacher necessarily. I mean, he is a good teacher, but you guys know what I mean. He has issues, okay? He's not the most healthy person. But it's like if you have a kid and you do everything you can to provide for them and to be there for them, and then they end up doing meth. It's like, well, that's not really your fault, right? It is your fault if you don't help them. And obviously in this situation, the only thing that Robby could do was tell Langdon to go to rehab. Now, here is one thing he could have done. It's been 7 months. You're telling me you've held a grudge against him, or you've been mad or had whatever kind of feelings about it for 7 months? Like, oh my God.
Wait, was it 7 or was it 9 months? 10 months. Is it 10 and I got the number wrong? You know what, guys? I think it's 10 months. I'm an idiot. Okay, every time I said 7 months, I apologize. I think it's 10 because I think it's supposed to be from September to now July, and I'm not... Wait, I can count that. Wait, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July. 10 months. I apologize. I had to count that all out on my fingers like an elementary schooler. But anyways.
So it's been 10 months, which is almost an entire year, so that's even worse than 7 months. Like, how has it been 10 months? To me, it's like you get over it at 2 months, and then you go and pick up the phone and call him. Like, people can receive phone calls in rehab, okay? It's not like you can receive phone calls in prison. Let's not act like he couldn't have contacted him. Because, okay,
if I had a coworker / friend who ended up doing drugs and like, okay, yes, I would be super mad at them because it's not, okay, here's the thing that differentiates it. He's not his peer, right? He is higher up than him on the totem pole. So it's, if he was just like a fellow senior resident, it would be completely different. But he was his boss. Like, at the end of the day, he's everyone's boss. So it's like, it's just a different kind of relationship.
But regardless, if there was some, young person, because he's like, like 20 years older than him. If there was some young dude who was my friend / family / whatever the helly belly, right? Oh, not belly, some right turn pretty. Anyways, if I was in Robby's shoes. Okay, so first of all, what I would do is I would probably be mad, but after about, I don't know, like 3 weeks, I would probably be like, yo, can we meet and talk? I'm sorry for, the way. Although, to be fair, Langdon was kind of provoking Robby when he was really, like, down.
Like, he was the one who was like, at least I wasn't talking to animals and peds. He did go a little too far with that one, but I'll give him a pass because he was on drugs, right? I'll give him a pass for that. I mean, come on. The moment was heated. The tensions were rising, so I feel like he gets a pass for saying that. I feel like everything they said that day gets a pass. But I don't know. I'm just kind of like...
Had to make sure I was still recording. Imagine if I wasn't recording and I was just, like, talking to myself in my room. Anyways, like, to me, it's like, what are you doing? Like, can we stop, like, looking at the situation of, like, okay, he stole meds from the hospital. Okay, he did this, he did that, right? Burn him at the stake, whatever, right? He's a witch, whatever. But it's like, at the end of the day, this is a guy who became addicted to something because something was wrong in his spirit, something was wrong in his heart, he wasn't completely happy, this relieved whatever was, broken inside of him, and that's something that I will always have sympathy for. I have no kinds of like biases towards drug addicts, alcoholics. To me, it is all the same. And this is really what I wanted to talk, like, really, this is my main point about Langdon, is that everyone has a vice, right? I'll put the definition on the screen. But everyone has a vice with a capital B. What? With a capital B? With a capital V. And a vice can be different, and it doesn't even have to be a substance. So Robby's vice is the emergency department, okay? He goes there every day, and that is what keeps him sane, okay? That is what keeps the world turning for him. That's why I'm like, 3 months sabbatical, buddy, like, let's try the therapy first, but okay, whatever, like, I love a vacation, right? So it's like, that's his vice, that is what keeps him running, that is like his alcohol, right? Is, for a lot of people, that's why they have Workaholics Anonymous. Hello. Workaholics Anonymous is for people who use their jobs to cope with life. So that's Robby's vice. Langdon's vice was obviously benzos, because that is what alleviated whatever was going on with him. That is just what he decided to use. I don't know the rest of the characters well enough to know what their vice is. I don't know much about Abbott, but the ER is probably also his vice.
Mel is probably the only one in that whole department who's not suffering. I mean, obviously having to take care of her sister is a lot, and her parents died, and I'm sure that she cries to herself to sleep, but at least she has her lava lamp and her subliminal meditation and her Nido and whatever she does, right? She knows she has her stim toys, so she knows how to cope.
Okay, on to the voice note. So, note about Langdon and Robby. Now, this is really interesting. I'm only a few minutes in, by the way. This is really interesting because Robby is not necessarily being, like, mean to Langdon by any means. He's sort of just being a little standoffish because this is the first time where they've had to work on a case together with this girl who has sepsis on her leg, or I don't know. But the thing is that Langdon did exactly what Robby told him to do, right? He went to rehab. He's been gone 7 months, ? Whatever. He went to rehab. He did the work. He did everything. Okay, he came back. He came back, eat, pray, love, okay? He did the work, guys, spiritual, everything, Gandhi, right? He did all of that, okay? He came back later. So he did exactly what Robby told him to do, which means that Robby's sort of energy that he's giving Langdon is not a cause of him being upset about the incident. It's much more emotional and much more personal. He's just upset that his friend lied to him, that his friend, quote unquote, betrayed him. I don't really like using these kinds of words because Langdon developed an addiction to a substance, and I don't think that means that we get to call him a betrayer or a liar or whatever. Obviously, from a medical work standpoint, it was wrong what he did, stealing patients' meds. I think morally what he did was wrong. But I think on a more personal level, his addiction, his addiction is not a slight to Robby. Robby doesn't get to be offended and angry because his friend became, addicted to drugs. Like, that deserves sympathy, in my opinion, and he went to rehab and did the work. So it's like, they really need to make up. Langdon, I feel like he is very remorseful of what he did, right? And Robby needs to just come to terms with it and accept what happened, because now this is no longer at all about the hospital. This is more just like just is very conflicted about how he feels about someone that he was really close to. Guys, Al and Robby, what is the ship name I made for them again? You could actually call them Hobby now that I think about it. You could call them Hobby. Abby. Yeah, that's cute, right? Okay, keep it cute, Abby. So what just happened is it's towards the end of the episode. It's like 3/4 into episode 5. And Al is like in there with Miss Mel King and Mr. Whitaker, and they're all in there working on the prisoner, right? Prisoner locked out, can't get you out my mind, right? Dua Lipa. And so they're all in there, right? Trio style. And Rob is behind them. He walks up and he doesn't say a peep. He says no words. And somehow Al uses her female feminine senses and she seismically senses his presence in the room, and she goes, Robby, what do you have to say here? I'm like, whoa. And she says something impressive. She kind of tells Mel and Whitaker, like, because the suturing isn't working, and she's like, do this, this, and this. And Robby is visibly impressed from behind her. Whoa, that sounded freaky. I didn't mean it like that. And I'm just kind of like, whoa, what? This is blowing my mind. Okay, I got really sidetracked. And also I drank too much coffee, and so now I'm getting heart palpitations. But I did remember, because I'm almost done with the episode, but like Langdon earlier was talking to, I think his name is Ahmad, but I can't remember, the black security guard for the ED. He was talking to him, and he was like, don't put me down for the bet, because like still paying off those rehab bills, right? And it's like, buddy, broski, brody, brochado. Like, why are we still talking about your rehab? Like, you are back. Let's put some respect on your own name. You're not, actually, Frank. You're not just Frank Langdon, the drug addict, the benzo popper, okay? You are Dr. Frank Langdon, a respected medical professional, okay? So what I noticed is Langdon is truly wearing this whole, I just got back from rehab thing. He's wearing it on his sleeve. You know how people say, like, wearing your heart on your sleeve? He is just putting it out here. He already said, I think in episode 3 or 2, I think it was episode 3, he was talking to Javadi and Whitaker, and he was like, I'll just go back down to, he's talking to them, he's like, I'll just go back there with the other drug addicts. It's like, buddy, why are you branding yourself in this way? Like, here's the thing, this is just a sociology thing and a psychology thing. The way that you treat yourself is how the world will treat you, okay? So if you don't dress well, if you don't smell good, if you don't care about your education, obviously, this is like in a hypothetical sense where you have the money to better yourself and whatnot. But if you have really, really low self-esteem and you show everyone that you just hate yourself, and not that I think that Langdon hates himself, but you know what I mean. He's kind of down. He's like a kicked puppy, okay? He's down, okay? If you, psychologically present yourself a certain way, the world is going to reflect that back onto you just like a mirror. So not that anyone is being mean to Langdon besides Robby a little bit, but, he needs to stop this whole propaganda that he is like some drug addict that we need to feel sorry for, because, he's a man that had problems. He probably still has problems, but that's not the business of anyone else. The more Langdon keeps talking about the fact that he went to rehab, the more people are going to remember him for that. He needs to step up and realize that, like, this is not like who you have to be. Like, your addiction is not who you are, and that doesn't need to be your identity. Be Jane Dow. Okay, so I'm like 40 minutes into episode 5, and the young man with the dry ice burn scar, his idiot brother who burned him, just entered the ED, and he said it doesn't look bad, and the patient, right, the first brother, he goes, "You gooning me?" Who wrote that line? I'm sorry. The writing has been excellent so far. Very modern, very up to date, very with the times, as they say. I have never in my life heard anyone say, "Are you gooning me?" I've heard people call people gooners. In fact, just today, 2 boys at my school, one of them said to the other one, "I only goon like 2 times a day." Me and my friend were floored when we overheard this. Okay, I've heard people use this word. I'm obviously not gonna explain what it means. If you don't know what it means, then I don't know, you're unk, I guess. But I've never once in my entire life heard anyone say, "Are you gooning me?" I don't think that anyone is saying that. If people are saying that, please update me. I'm concerned.